Have you ever felt exhausted? Not in your body, but in your soul fighting silent battles no one else sees? In the noise of modern life, beneath the endless scrolls and endless demands. We often forget the most important voice to listen to is our own. And it is here, in this fragile place, that an ancient wisdom softly returns, not from influencers or celebrities, but from a Roman emperor who chose to write journals over ruling with an iron fist, Marcus Aurelius. There comes a time in life when logic alone is no longer enough, because life doesn't always make sense. Everything seems to be moving fast, loud, and directionless. People race ahead, news changes constantly, and our hearts slowly grow weary without us realizing it. It is in times like these that the story of a man from thousands of years ago begins to echo again. His name was Marcus Aurelius, not just an emperor, but a seeker of meaning amidst power. Beneath the grandeur of his robes, he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The words seem simple, but within them lies profound truth. Marcus understood the world cannot be bent to our will. Some things will slip beyond our grasp, and the only true domain we ever possess is our own inner being. When disease struck his city, when his generals plotted betrayal, when his loved ones passed away one by one, Marcus did not drown in rage. He chose silence. He turned inward. And in that stillness he found something no one could ever take from him. A peace born of understanding. He taught us that suffering often does not come from what happens to us, but from how we interpret what happens. And there lies the true test of a mature soul. Not in how we avoid pain, but in how we embrace it and still move forward without losing our humanity. Modern life may no longer speak of wars and plagues as in Marcus' time, but our spirits still face the same tremors. Loss, pressure, the suffocating weight of expectations. So the question becomes, will we react like children consumed by emotion, or reflect like sages who learn from the storm? As an old saying goes, still waters reflect the face, a still soul reflects wisdom. Today we have a choice, to not be swept away by the world's noise, to cultivate a quiet space within, where we can speak honestly with ourselves, and ask again, what truly matters in this life? Because sometimes strength is not about holding on tighter, but about letting go of what we cannot control, and embracing the peace that lives within. There are moments in life when a single word, a small gesture, can make our hearts boil. Someone cuts in line. A boss gives harsh criticism, or a loved one says something hurtful. And when that happens, our old self, the one used to reacting impulsively, wants to strike back with sharp words, a cold stare, or silent anger. But Stoicism teaches something different. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our true freedom. Marcus Aurelius often faced slander, betrayal, even neglect from people he trusted, yet he did not react immediately. He wrote, reflected, and responded with clarity of thought, not because he was weak, but because he understood. Quick reactions often come from wounds, not wisdom. Imagine if every minor conflict wasn't met with instant retaliation. Imagine if every emotion that arose was first allowed to settle, like muddy water left undisturbed. Then slowly, what surfaces is not just anger, but the root of that emotion, the feeling of being unappreciated, the fear of abandonment, or an old wound that hasn't healed. By recognizing this, we no longer become slaves to impulse and ego. By recognizing this, we no longer become slaves to impulse and ego. We become observers, and at the same time, the true owners of ourselves. Stoicism doesn't teach us to become cold. On the contrary, it teaches us to warm our inner world with presence, so that every action we take is not just a reaction, but a conscious choice from a calm heart. Because in the end, those who can pause before responding are the ones who are truly strong, not because they lack emotion, but because they have tamed the storm within. Sometimes we feel exhausted, not because the work is hard, not because the problems are overwhelming, but because we keep trying to control everything, even what is clearly beyond us. We wish for sunshine in the middle of a storm. We expect others to understand us without explanation. We want the world to move according to our expectations. And when reality doesn't comply, what arises is disappointment, anger, and even despair. But Stoicism invites us to pause, to look at life through a clearer lens. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The art of living is not about changing the world, but about preparing the soul to face it." As an emperor with vast armies and lands under his rule, Marcus still recognized that true power is not outside, but within. He didn't strive to conquer the world, but to conquer the urge to control everything. And that, perhaps, is the deepest victory a human can achieve. Imagine life as a river. You can't control its current, but you can learn to swim in it, without drowning, without wasting energy in resistance. You focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your intentions, and your actions. The rest you surrender, with a heart prepared to accept whatever comes. Because true maturity isn't when everything goes as planned, but when you remain calm, even when the plan changes. Time, it moves without a sound, never waiting, never turning back. And in the rush of our endless routines, we often forget. Life is a loan, not a possession. We chase many things: recognition, wealth, titles, validation. But in the stillness of the night, when it's just you and your awareness, you might ask, do any of these truly matter? There is something that slowly scorches the soul. Silent, invisible, yet deeply wounding. We've all felt it. Betrayed, disrespected, wounded by words or unjust actions. And our first instinct is to strike back, with words, with coldness, or worse, through quiet revenge that brews in the dark corners of the heart. But ask yourself, for what? For whom? Marcus Aurelius, a man who walked daily among betrayal and power struggles, once said, "To be angry at someone is to let them win twice, once by their act, and again by our loss of self-mastery." He knew anger is not strength. It is weakness wearing the mask of power. Imagine gripping a burning ember tightly, hoping its fire will scorch someone else. But all the while, it is your own hand that blisters first. That is how anger works. It fools us into thinking we're defending our pride, when really, we're tearing apart our inner peace. Stoicism doesn't tell us to suppress emotion. It teaches us to recognize, then rise above. Unexamined anger locks the soul in a prison of reaction. But when reflected upon, it becomes a teacher, revealing wounds we haven't yet healed. And from that clarity, healing begins. Not by fighting the world, but by forgiving ourselves, and refusing to carry those wounds into tomorrow. If someone has wronged you, remember, they are human, and humans forget goodness often. Marcus Aurelius. In the journey of life, fear is the shadow that never quite leaves. It shows up uninvited, in silent nights, in difficult decisions, or in the quiet dread of failure. We are taught to avoid it, to forget, delay, or turn away. But as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, don't hope for life to be easier. Hope that you become stronger. Because fear is not the enemy, it is a mirror. It reveals the edge of our courage, and offers a choice: to stay still or step deeper into the self. Picture an old warrior. In a battle no one sees, he does not carry a sword, but the quiet resolve to remain standing, even when his knees tremble. That is true bravery, not the absence of fear, but the decision to walk with fear and not let it lead. Marcus didn't speak from comfort. He wrote during war. Amidst plague and political betrayal, he didn't flee. He faced it with clarity of mind and a steady heart. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality, a wisdom echoed by many Stoics. We live in an age of anxiety. So much is uncertain. But remember this: when you avoid your fears, they grow in the shadows, but when you face them, they begin to lose their grip. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, all are part of life, but don't let them chain your steps. Because sometimes the only way out is to go deeper within, and there, you'll discover something extraordinary, a courage you never knew you had, but was always there, quietly waiting. And in the end, life is not about avoiding the storm, but learning how to dance in the rain. The teachings of Stoicism are not ancient relics of the past. They are lanterns for the weary soul, compasses for the lost heart, and strength for those who choose to grow, even when the world feels unkind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Your life is what your thoughts make it. So guard your thoughts like a sacred garden. Tend to them with awareness, and water them with wisdom. Because in the end, it's not the outside world that determines our peace, but the lens through which we see and respond to it." Thank you for walking with us today. May these lessons become small lights on the vast road you're traveling. And always remember, tranquility doesn't mean the world stops shaking. It means your heart stays grounded while it does. See you in the next lesson.